What's up, everyone? Greg Helbeck here, and on this week's real estate quick lesson, REI lesson, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to talk about BRRRR property investing, which stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. So if you're looking to learn how to do that, this is the video to watch. So if you are new to the channel, sorry for shuffling around here. I'm just trying to get settled for a nice 8 to 10 minute video. If you're new to my channel, I'm Greg Helbeck. I've bought well over 100 houses in many different states across America, and my goal on this channel is to be as helpful as possible. So if you're on YouTube and you're watching this and you think it's valuable, please subscribe to my channel and like the video. And my goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers in the next 90 days. So the best way to help contribute is to subscribe. Also, if you're on social media and you're watching this, like the video. And let me know what your thoughts are. So BRRRR property investing. So this has become very popular over the last 3 to 4 years, primarily from bigger pockets. I think they coined the term, Brandon Turner coined the term BRRRR, which is buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. I'll say that again. It's buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. So at the end of the day, this strategy is the best way to build your wealth via rental properties, in my opinion. And the reason is because the whole success. So I want to just kind of get into the BRRRR strategy and why it's so powerful. So at the end of the day, if you can buy a property at a discount, so that's the number one pillar with BRRRR investing, is you need to get a property at a discount. If you're paying retail for properties, or if you're even paying a little bit under retail, this strategy does not work because you're going to leave your money stuck in the deal, and I'll get into that later. So you need to buy the property at a discount. And in my business, for the BRRRR properties that I do, I generally need to get my properties cheaper if I'm gonna BRRRR them than I would if I'm gonna flip them. Because at the end of the day, critical thing number one with BRRRR investing is you need to get it at a deep discount, because the refinance is pretty much where you're gonna get your money back and be able to redo the process again. And then the second thing that is obviously really important is being able to refinance your property and getting the right lender to fund your deal on the back end. So let me just walk through what a BRRRR property would look like. And so I'm going to walk through the theory, and then I'll walk through a deal that I did, and then I will talk about why it's really important to refinance and why that's the second most important part. So at the end of the day, an investor would locate a distressed property that they can buy at a discount. That's step number one. That's the buy. After they buy that property, and by the way, to buy that property, they either have to use their own money, cash, hard money, which is short-term financing, or private money, which is an individual who will fund that deal. But you're using short-term financing or your own money, right? So that's important. Second thing you do is you just renovate that property. So you upgrade the property, change out the electric, change out the plumbing, do everything that you need to do to make the property safe and reasonable for a tenant to move in. Maybe do the cabinets, countertops, floors, harden up the property. Just so when a tenant moves in, there's not going to be a lot of maintenance calls. Once you're done renovating the property, you're going to put it up for rent. You can use a real estate agent. You can do it on your own. You can use a property management company. There's a lot of ways to do that. So you're going to rent the property, sign a lease with a tenant, get a security deposit, and have the tenant move in. And then once that property is renting, after a few months, you then want to go and you want to do a refinance. So you go to a bank and you tell the bank that you have an asset you already own, which has a renter inside, and they're paying whatever dollars per month in rent. And you're going to say, I want to do a refinance loan. So instead of giving you a regular brand new loan, they're going to basically see if you have an existing loan on the property. And if you do, they're going to pretty much be able to hopefully pay off that first loan, reimburse you the money that you'd spent to rehab the property. And the goal when you're doing a refi is to be able to get all of your money back. So I want to cover that real quick. That is the most important thing with the BRRRR. The reason why the BRRRR is a really good way to grow your wealth is because let's say you're starting with like $100,000, right? And you put $100,000 into this rental property that you pay cash for. Or sorry, let's say you put $70,000 you pay $70,000 for the property, and you put $20,000 into the renovation, okay? And you're in at 90, and then you got about $10,000 in closing costs. So your all-in basis is $100,000, right? The $100,000 you use to buy the property, renovate the property, and use for the closing costs is your basis, which is what you're in the deal for, right? If, let's say that property gets appraised for, I'm just going to look at the math here real quick. Could be 150 times 0.7. So let's say that the property's worth 150. I'm just using I literally pulled that number out of my ass. So let's say the property's worth 150 fixed up, or the ARV, right? If you can get a lender to give you a 70% loan to value, so basically loan 70% of the asset's value, they're going to give you $100,000, okay? Or sorry, they're going to give you $105,000, right? So now You're going to get $105,000 in the form of a loan. You're most likely going to have about $5,000 in closing costs. So that's why that number actually makes the most sense. $5,000 will get deducted. And now you're going to be left with $100,000 of net proceeds from the loan, which you can basically use to either pay off your hard money loan, which is hopefully about $100,000, or if you paid cash, which I've done sometimes, you can get all your money back that you spent on the property in the form of refinance proceeds. And then you can take that money that you just got back and you can go do it again. And you can exponentially grow your rental portfolio because you're always able to get your initial capital back. And you can use that capital to then deploy into the next property to then, snowball the wealth. And the good thing about this example is that, looking at my screen here, you're going to have $50,000 in equity in that property that you created. And the key to that deal being successful is because you bought it at a discount. You bought an asset worth $150,000 for $70,000. You put $20,000 into it. You had $10,000 in closing costs. You had $5,000 in refi closing costs. So ultimately, you got all your money back. You have a lot of equity in that property. You have 30% equity, and you can take that money and you can go do it over and over and over and over again. And I have friends and people I know who have hundreds of these, and they have became multi-mega millionaires by doing this. So how does this actually make sense in my business, and how can it make sense in your business? So I'll give you a legit example. I bought a property in Middletown, New York for $65,000 in 2020. I got a hard money loan on that property. So I think they loaned me $50,000, I believe. So I had about $15,000 plus closing costs, about $20,000 of my own money in that property, right? The purchase price difference, which was 15, plus the closing costs, which was about $5,000, something like that. And we ended up buying the property, closed on it. And this property, ironically, wasn't vacant. It was occupied. There was already tenants in there paying rent. So I already had rent coming in from this property. So what I did was 6 months after I owned the property, usually lenders want you to have the property, it's called seasoning, for 3 to 6 months. I called up a local lender and I said, hey, can you do a refi on this property? It got appraised for, I think, $170,000. I got the house at a crazy cheap price, which is the key to this being successful. And they said, yeah, we'll do $100,000. So essentially, I was able to pull out like $30-something thousand tax-free money in my pocket, which I used that to do the rehab, which we're actually doing right now as we speak. But long story short, I bought a property at a discount. I did a reverse BRRRR, so I bought the property and then I refinanced it. Now I'm renovating it and it's rented. But it's all the same shit at the end of the day. Basically, I was able to get all my money out and use that money to then go buy another property, and then another property, then another property, and I've been doing this for a while now. So at the end of the day, the BRRRR strategy is something that is really, 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 really powerful if you know what you're doing. I wouldn't say it's for beginners, to be honest, because at the end of the day, finding a deal at a discount when you're brand new is not easy. It takes time, takes energy, takes dedication. But once you have a track record and you've done some wholesale deals, maybe you've done a few house flips, and you want to start jumping into rental property investing, taking the leads that you're already marketing and making offers on, and looking at the numbers from a BRRRR, if you can, in my rule, if I can get all my money out on the BRRRR, or at least like 90-95% of my money out, I got to leave like maybe 5, 10, 15 grand in the deal, and the property produces a positive cash flow of around $300 a month minimum, sometimes $250 depending on where the property is, I'll consider it as a candidate to BRRRR. And it's a great way to build your wealth. So hopefully this video wasn't too confusing. It was helpful. So the big takeaway, if you're doing the BRRRR, the 2 critical success factors in a BRRRR, in my opinion, I'm sure most people would agree with me here, is that you got to get the property at a deep discount. From my experience, you usually got to get it cheaper than a flip, and you have to have a good exit strategy when it comes to the refinance. You got to have a lender who understands how to do this, and they're okay with you getting all your money out. Sometimes if you get a really, really, really good deal, you can actually put some money in your pocket tax-free, which is crazy. So powerful strategy. Make sure you're good at buying properties at a discount. Make sure you have good lender relationships. Hopefully this was helpful, and I will see everyone in the next video. If you did get value from it, if you could subscribe to my channel, like the video, and then if you're watching on social media, if you can share it, that'd be great. Talk soon. Oh, and like the video. Bye.